work in your digital marketing team. What would ever make me go to an old-fashioned website reading PDFs that are 6 pages long without a single picture? I don't do that. That is not in my thinking. I want to have something on my phone when I need it, with infographics, with clicks through that I can find more information if needed. I want it to be served to me so that my brain understands it quickly, easily, just when needed, just on time. So we have to start understanding the way that our employees also consume our products. So very, very important there for an HR person to wrap our head around. The elements of Agile work, I'm not going to go into these ones, but you can see here what the elements of Agile work is. How can we start bringing agility into our product and service development? We put the customer and this user in the center, very important. The other thing is we don't build a whole thing at once. We start thinking about how can we build this in parts to make sure that we deliver smaller parts of the value first. So I'm giving you an example. Think about your own company. If it's a big company, you want to create a career program. Now, instead of going away and creating the full career program and planning that and then starting to prepare that and processes and HRIS systems and you name it, what we do instead, if we're Agile, we're thinking about, if we think about careers, what would be the small part that we could already deliver, which is very valuable for the company during the next quarter? If we can get it out in a quarter, it would be valuable. Maybe it's something like, first, we offer everyone a self-assessment and a quick coaching conversation around what are you good at? What are your development areas? Second, after that, when we have created that, we can offer make your own skills visible in a portfolio. So instead of trying to have a career ladder that you're going through, we might say, hey, everybody are keen of showing what they are able to. Let's get everybody to make, or everybody who wants to make a digital portfolio of your products, what you've done before, projects, what have you done? So you can have a visual of your own career so far. Then maybe we will have third, maybe we will open up our projects coming in and say anybody can apply to these projects with your portfolio and say, I'm interested in these projects, which helps you build a career because more and more work is going to be project-based. So you see where this is going? Instead of thinking about the whole.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, you're muted.
Riina, you still have 10 minutes. Don't worry.
10 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So here you can see the difference between the waterfall and the Agile world and the thinking. On the left-hand side, this is how a kind of the normal company who hasn't been moving this way yet thinks. They do long-term plans. They have a plan that they create in the beginning, and then they start working according to plan, and then
recording
they
in
implement
progress
according to plan. That is called waterfall thinking, and that is working if your environment is stable. If it's not changing a lot, you can trust that plan that you have created. Now, if you are in an environment, you can start asking yourselves, if I create a plan today, if I write a plan today about the work that I'm doing or the project that I'm working on, how long will that be valid? How long before something in your environment changes that you need to go back and change that plan? How often will that happen? This will tell you the need of agility. If that plan will be valid for a quarter, you should do quarterly planning. If that plan will be valid for 2 weeks, you should check in on your plan with a 2-week interval. That is where the world is going currently. And with this, I'm going to kind of refer back to this ongoing lasting habit change. We don't know what our organizations will look like when we go out of the pandemic, but for sure we know they won't be the same as pre-pandemic. For sure we know we are going to look at modern ways of working, more remote, hybrid workplaces where people have companies on the side and the usual work. We're working with people who are talented from across the globe, and we can even see companies going all remote and realizing that's a massive competitive advantage if they succeed in building a well-functioning, well-being, healthy organizations on full remote. How are they going to build that? Do you think they have a plan of 5 years, this is what it will look like. No, they don't. What they are doing it agile. And this is on the right-hand side. They have a vision where they want to go to, but then they are starting to build that step by step by step, continuously validating with the users or with the customers, with their employees, what works, what doesn't. And then when they know that something works, they can then scale that across the organization. So testing, experimenting, alternatives, until they get feedback and understand what works. This is how we build products in the current global changing environment. This is how we validate if something works or doesn't work. This is how we also can take a couple of steps back. If we have built something, let's say we use 2 weeks to build an idea of an onboarding, the first day when you join a company. That's the kind of first day onboarding experience. We spend 2 weeks trying to improve that and go to a validation session with some people and say, hey, this is what we have thought. And they totally tell you that that is not going to be working. What can you do then? In an agile mindset, you rewind and take in that feedback and say, okay, thank you. That was important. Now the validation isn't there. So this is how Agilist thinks as well. Let's put something in front of the users to really see if that will work or not before we roll it out to everybody. So this can be happening in our HR teams when we develop products, when we develop our services, even when you send out an email to your organization's managers. Why don't you send that out first to 2 people who you say, I'll test this with you. Tell me if you understand this. Tell me if there's anything that you don't understand. Tell me if there are changes needed or anything. And even these 2 people can share some feedback with you, which makes this message, when you send it to 1,000 people, be much better. So Agilists think about validation and feedback. How can we validate before we roll it out to a lot of people? So Agile can be used in HR. We can start building our products and services this way and collaborating this way. That is the part which is on the left-hand side here, the Agile for HR. But now we have to remember that we are not an independent little island in an organization. What we are doing is that we are serving businesses. And my friends, there are so many industries right now rushing towards starting to work this way. Banking, retail, insurance, defense, public companies, travel, service companies, professional services. There are all of these, even automotive, all digital, all software, all IT, all of them on the business side are moving to work this way, transparently, in self-organized teams, less hierarchy, getting stuff done in an incremental manner rather than having those 3-year plans. And we in HR need to start understanding this because we are helping these organizations transform. So that means that on the right-hand side, HR for Agile. How can we develop people, products, and services that support agility, support this way of working, rather than hinder it? If we create a policy in our organization that hinders remote work, that's just ridiculous going forward. If we have, I heard about a company that said, we can't have office workers working remotely because our factory workers, of course, can't work remotely. That is just strategically a stupid decision to make, in my opinion, because you now have to adapt to what's going on in the job market. You can't have these policies that hinder agility, hinder the business success any longer. So the businesses is actually driving agility. It's just good for HR as well to understand. We can also start using these practices in our product and services work. And I would like to say, kind of wrap up with that we are working in an increasingly complex and changing world. If you work with any of your products, take that you are creating a new management development program. If you take half a year to develop that program, and then half a year to source vendors, to source trainers, and you will get that out in a year, you will have a management development program which is ready. It is already old. What I'm asking you to do instead is try to break it down into smaller parts. Try to create modules that you launch. There is one module to everybody. Here is alternative ways of learning this. And then you trust the people that are willing and wanting to learn to then find a way and give you feedback about what works, what doesn't, before you then launch it bigger. Modularizing, going smaller, micro learning, for example, rather than having the big program of 3 months to all managers. So this is what, excuse me, this is what we can see. So ending here, what about you? What about your company? Are you a Stefan? Are you a person who could work for somebody else remotely on the other side of the world, offering value, working independently, nobody telling you what to do, but you're participating in a team that has transparently delivered or created everything they want to create and develop and work on. Everything is transparent. So you're picking up on tasks, discussing with your team members without a manager telling you what to do. What about your company? Are you ready that teams might be poached from you and say, we'll recruit that whole team, and they will leave you? Are you ready to offer people a possibility to have their job and do a side hustle on the side, to have a company on the side? If not, why? How can you work with this? What about people wanting to live anywhere and work? So you might see a lot of Western people who say, I want to actually work, but I want to live in Bali. I would love that, actually. It would be great to be living in a place which is warm and has sun, but work for my usual company. You might be seeing these people. What does that do to the economy, to the services, to the opportunities in your country? There's a lot of this stuff that we don't know yet where this is leading to, but it's for sure the lasting habit change is there. And we can start mind mapping what the potential outcomes are, and we can start foreseeing how we can create a business around that, how we can create policies that allow or lower the risk in our organizations. And this is what I think is most important. Be ready not to go back to pre-pandemic world. Be prepared with it's going to change, and it's going to continue changing and evolving. So thank you on my behalf, and happy to have the Q&A after Wiwik's session, and hopefully hear some good questions from you.
Okay, thank you so much, Riina, for your presentation. Jadi sedikit saya simpulkan, tadi Riina banyak bicara mengenai perubahan yang terjadi bukan hanya secara umum, secara global, tapi juga banyak sekali terjadi di negara-negara yang saat ini Riina punya banyak kerjasama dalam perusahaan-perusahaan atau proyeknya dia. Jadi bicara mengenai tren di US, tren di UK, tren di Europe, dan bagaimana kemudian tren itu mempengaruhi perilaku pencari kerja, perilaku employee di seluruh dunia. Gitu. Nah, jadi tadi Riina banyak sekali bicara mengenai prinsip Agile, di mana Agile itu tidak harus selalu berhubungan dengan IT. HR itu tidak bisa Agile. Nah, jadi tadi beliau banyak cerita mengenai jangan sampai seperti itu. HR pun bisa Agile. Riina bicara mengenai beberapa prinsip dalam how to make HR become more agile, gitu ya. Jadi prinsip-prinsip seperti menempatkan konsumen, which is employee kita, the heart of our product and service. Bagaimana kemudian kita membuat sebuah adaptive planning, bukan waterfall, di mana perencanaan di depan habis-habisan, setelah itu rencana yang kita buat itu tidak relevan lagi. Tapi bagaimana kita membuat incremental plan, bagaimana adanya continuous improvement, dan bagaimana kita adanya evidence base. Ketika kita mau mentes sesuatu, bagaimana memastikan bahwa produk dan service kita itulah yang dibutuhkan karyawan saat itu. Itu ya. Jadi tadi Riina bicara berbagai hal mengenai prinsip-prinsip Agile HR. Oke. Nah, yang kedua, kita akan mendengarkan pembicaraan dari Wiwik. Dari Wiwik. Ibu Wiwik adalah Country HR Officer untuk Home Credit Indonesia. Mungkin Bapak Ibu udah kenal Mbak Wiwik sebelumnya. Beliau sudah malang melintang di dunia HR sudah lama. Sekarang ini di Home Credit, sebelumnya pernah di Synthesis, pernah di Holcim, pernah di Campbell Arnold, pernah di Luxinta, pernah di Monsanto, pernah di DuPont, pernah di Eco, banyak di berbagai tempat. Beliau saat ini memegang jabatan sebagai Chief Human Resource Officer di Home Credit, di mana beliau sendiri mengalami first hand experience bagaimana memanage remote working di Home Credit. Seperti itu. Nah, tanpa panjang lebar lagi, saya serahkan mic kepada Mbak Wiwik, and I will share the slide with all of you. Oke, sebentar saya share dulu. Mbak Wiwik, saya highlight Mbak ya.
That's fine. Thank you, Alvin.
Spotlight. Oke, saya share dulu filenya. Oke, hold on. Oke, sorry Mbak. Saya ini dulu sebentar ya.
So anyway, while you are preparing the slide, right? I think the subject of remote working in Indonesia, maybe I'm not the only one ya. Yang aku pikirkan bahwa the majority of us here mungkin sudah menerapkan hal ini ya, Alvin ya. So I hope my presentation, my sharing won't be something boring for the people, buat teman-teman di sini. Hopefully we can just use it as a reference if anything yang untuk yang belum menerapkan ya, maybe bisa menjadikan bisa dijadikan reference untuk teman-teman. Anyway. Okay, so you can move to the next slide. You can skip introduction about me. You already mentioned, as well as Home Credit. Hopefully everyone or many of you already know by now about Home Credit. Beberapa tahun yang lalu sih kalau kita mendengar kata-kata Home Credit, apaan sih ini company jualan rumah gitu ya. But saya singgung sedikit aja bahwa Home Credit is a multi-purpose financing company. Ya ini kalau di Indonesia saat ini sedang marak-maraknya bisnis ini finance and technology gitu. So for the regulatory perspective, we are very much, regulated, heavily regulated by OJK, similarly like bank. But from the operational perspective, we are very much dynamic and it's very close to the e-commerce industry. Yeah. Okay. Next. Next. Okay, so for Home Credit in Indonesia, yeah, what I do here. So what does it take for us in terms of implementing employee experience in this remote setup? Yeah, so because at the moment, yes, we did fully working from home for the past, like 1.5 years. And this month we have started to try out once a week to come back to the office for those who already feel comfortable and for those who already feeling so bored of working from home. Yeah, so in the end of the day, there is no one-way solution. Means we are not going to be fully working from home, and we are also not going to be fully working from office. So the hybrid working setup or working arrangement is a way to go for us, and our future will be around 2 days a week working from the office. And that's also giving the opportunity for people to meet up in person. And as you know that, we are very much high touch culture. People want to find support from each other by meeting, mingling, and maybe just having lunch together with their colleagues. Yeah. So 3 things that we consider when we prepared ourselves for the remote setup. One is technology, and then the process, as well as the people. Yeah. So as we all know, related to the technology, so any organization today must enable people to be able to be working more productive, to be working more efficient, and at the same time they can continue to be innovative. Yeah, and they need to stay connected internally and externally. And they also continue to feel safe and looked after by the organization. So basically, technology should be able to facilitate all this need seamlessly. Yeah, and then another one is a process. So talking about process is business is about moving forward, and to do this, we have got to make sure that we remain to be streamlined and agile, as Riina mentioned. Yeah. However, this may not be always an easy solution or easy thing to do. There are always areas that we can continue to improve when we look at the existing processes. Yeah, and really thankfully to the technology that nowadays technology offers so many things, so many answers when it comes to staying streamlined and making a few tweaks in all the systems so that we can make a big impact on our business, and that we can use them effectively in terms of time, and then we also can improve performance through the analytics that is available. And at the same time, is one of the major thing is about to make sure that we can continue to collaborate. Yeah. And last but not least, it's related to people. So employees want to see values and purpose of what they do at work, and giving them a sense of ownership through a collaborative culture, and also the processes that we can showcase this one. Yeah, and technology and culture play a critical role for them to make this all possible. And in the past, the tool was at the disposal of HR, were very bulky, I would say, and but the capable people basically able to create all this ERP. Yeah, so the tool basically to be able to meet all this need. But nowadays, however, there is an emerging platform when it can be developed or it's available specifically to be able to shape up all this need, so then we can utilize those appropriately. So, okay, next. Okay, so in this case, when we talk about what do we consider in home credit, yeah, there are 5 areas. We talk about communication and collaboration. We talk about employee engagement, and then Agile project management, employee self-service, as well as it's related to security. So the type of, this in this slide, you can see, for example, in the area of employee engagement. So we have the enterprise social networking, and then another thing is a survey tool that is available. Yeah. So then the solution that we try to provide is Yammer, as well as Form. Another thing is Jira. So thanks God again with the Office 365, they have a lot of tools that can help us to be able to operate more effectively and can improve our collaboration. So on the right-hand side, you can see what is a day in the life of an employee, yeah, in Home Credit, you know, and as you can see, the day schedule, what do they do, and then what kind of solution that help those employees to be able to stay connected, to be able to stay productive, and also deliver the work. Yeah. Okay. Next. Yeah. So basically, technology help us to streamline the processes. I like to share a bit of story, like what happened in HR area in the past, yeah, prior to pandemic. In fact, and we found the solution during the pandemic that HR every single day receive more than 300 complaints or queries from employees. And it took us basically months to be able to solve all the cases that they brought it to HR, right? So with the technology that is available, basically now that we don't need to see those people, but the case is being able to be solved within hours time frame. Yeah. So in this case, it's just one of the proof that working remotely, it doesn't mean that slowing down things. Yeah, if we need to solve employee issues, for example, that can be done via technology that is available. So basically, we believe that technology help us to streamlining the processes for sure. And I like to mention that, you know, our customer obsession is one of our values in Home Credit, and we encourage people to have regular check with their customers. But you know how it is hard, yeah, to meet up the customer one by one. So this is a good example that with technology we can do it all. You know, and that we also use this approach for our employees, and you know, the on the controlled side, yeah. And this is how to make sure, for example, about accountability, how hard it was that if we need to manually sending a reminder to employee to call for an action. So instead of doing it manually, we change everything into digital with an automatic reminder. Yeah. And last but not least is related to evaluation. So the pace of work is getting faster for sure. And one of the common pitfalls in the past is to run so fast and not reflecting what you have learned from what's been happening. So by having our MS team, Microsoft Teams, it helped us to set up a regular schedule for you know, reflection, or even create an engagement activities with that tool. So we thought that was impossible, but basically things can be done even in a more collaborative way. Okay, next. So what we do believe in HR, like what Riina mentioned, yeah. So basically through technology, HR basically we became less prescriptive and we became more kind of consultative. So HR can suggest a blueprint of what culture could be, but fill out the framework with contribution for the whole organization. So by letting employees build culture with us, involving and engaging them, it can improve with all the technology. Yeah. So what we did a lot, like when the pandemic broke, and I believe that all of us doing this, with in the past, when you want to organize a meeting, we need to have an offsite meeting. And we said, oh, because of budget, you can only invite the top 50 or top 100 management team, yeah. And then surprise, with this virtual town hall, all of a sudden you can invite 4,000 employees at once. Yeah, everybody there, everybody tune in, and everybody can hear the same message and directly from the top leader in the organizations. Yeah. And the way we run our learning program, we move a lot into tools like Udemy or Coursera. And at the same time, we develop a lot of online program where employee can find themselves what do they need to learn. But we also conducting a lot of online facilitation, online talk show, online chit chat. Sometimes it's just having an online coffee break, and that's really helping employee to stay engaged. I would say. So this is underneath is all the activities that we try to move into more digital tools. Yeah. Okay. And I want to mention here that the way we do it, we have we develop strong collaboration between employees, the managers, and our team. In the past, HR usually will come already with a remedy. But I think that has changed pretty much, that we hear more feedback from the employees. We hear what do they need, so then they can have a more enjoyable experience with our organization. So so hopefully with remote working, you name it, or a hybrid working setup later, this we can still continue to balance the employee need and organization need, somehow that we can continue to excel, and our business can continue to be successful.
Mbak Wiwik,
Yeah,
sorry. Ya, aku next.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I already mentioned. We conducted so many different kind of activities which involve our own employee. So we are kind of started to go or to move away from those type of, hey, employee need to learn something and they need to take this courses or that courses. The technical skills or anything that they think that they still need, we provide employees with Udemy, but many other or most of other programs we done it via kind of talk show. We use an example from our own employees as part of those program. And in general, the youngster now, they don't want to spend like all day to do trainings. Yeah, so we facilitated, we conducted facilitation with a short one, you name it, a coffee shop story, and transformation talk and time out and so on. This is just some of the examples that that we have in our organization.
Next.
Yeah.
Ya, Mbak Wiwik langsung bilang aja next, nanti aku next. Thank you.
Okay, next. Okay, so I think that really is what I.
Oke, baik. Terima kasih banyak Mbak Wiwik untuk sharingnya. Saya stop sharing, Mbak Wiwik.
Yeah, thank you.
Oke. Thank you so much untuk Mbak Wiwik untuk kesediaannya untuk berbagi. Jadi tadi kalau boleh saya simpulkan, tadi Mbak Wiwik banyak sekali bicara mengenai peran teknologi di dalam menjembatani Agile, bagaimana membuat HR, proses kerja HR menjadi lebih Agile. Tapi bukan hanya sekedar teknologi saja, tetapi tadi Mbak Wiwik banyak bicara mengenai prinsip-prinsip Agile that Riina has already mentioned. Beberapa principles on people engagement is about one is being involved and empathize. So involve your employee, not discredit them, empathize to their need, and then doing with starting small and ensure continuity. Jadi bagaimana encourage karyawan, bagaimana berempati terhadap mereka, bagaimana bisa start small, bukan start besar, tapi kemudian ada continuous improvement, gitu ya. Dan kemudian juga bicara bagaimana ada 3 pilar yang penting dalam home credit, di mana harus ada 3 pilar, which is pilar teknologi, tetapi juga ada pilar proses dan pilar people, gitu ya. Jadi tadi itu ada beberapa hal yang tadi cukup penting yang disampaikan oleh Mbak Wiwik. Bicara mengenai teknologi pun tidak harus bisa langsung diimplementasi, bagaimana kita identifikasi, bagaimana kita kontrol, dan bagaimana kita evaluasi hal tersebut. Oke, baik. So basically we have now we were going into the question and answer. So we still have around 30 minutes. And then we will open like 1 or 2 rounds of question. Kita akan buka 1 atau 2 round pertanyaan, di mana nanti Mbak Wiwik dan juga Riina Hellström will try to answer your question, gitu ya. Nah, langsung saja. So let me find the first one. So let me share my screen. Share screen. Okay. Yeah, okay. Ini. Jadi, so Riina, the first question is for you from. Okay, so let me just do it like this, where I put the face of all of us in one box. Mbak Meti, saya mau highlight Mbak Riina dan juga Mbak Wiwik. Gimana ya Mbak Meti ya? Okay, hold on. Please wait while I'm highlighting 2 of you.
Hostnya sekarang Mbak Sandra.
Oh iya, oke. Boleh minta tolong di-highlight? Kayaknya bisa di-highlight dua-duanya biar mukanya kelihatan.
Bentar ya, saya coba.
So, I will. Okay, so yeah, so spotlight Mbak Wiwik dan spotlight Riina. Add spotlight. Okay. Okay, and add spotlight. Pas, mantap. Oke, baik. Ya, begini kita bisa add spotlight bertiga. Okay, cool. So basically, Riina, so the first question is coming from Mr. Effendi Ibnu, and then the question is, these are the questions. So let me just use the chat box, okay, so that we know that we are queuing in the same question. Okay, this is coming from Pak Effendi. Okay. Yeah. So basically, for Riina, I think, are we prepared for it? Is the key question. Also, I'm thinking that in the end, the issue is hybrid way of working. Is how that correlate with business growth, with customer employee engagement, with capability of innovating. Also, do you think the nature of the jobs and different roles will be determine how we strategize the future of work? Okay, so I put the question there in the chat box, Riina.
I love your thinking there. I think that some of us are thinking about this too linearly. One of my key things is kind of we're thinking about this. How should we do this? Let's create a plan. Let's do this. Again, I would like to step a couple of steps back and say we will never be prepared for what's coming right now in the next 2, 3, 4 years. We just can be able to foresee maybe half a year forward and try to adjust and try to react on what's going on. But we can see the trends happening. So I think definitely that we can already see that some companies that have been successful pre-pandemic, setting up hybrid ways of working, helping people and teams deliver work this way virtually, using tools. I'm not sure if you know Miro and Mural and these kind of collaborative tools where you can really be innovative together on the same platform and have everything documented at once. These kind of companies who have learned to use these, I mean, Wiwik, thank you very much for a presentation. I can see that you're also delivering all kinds of virtual tools to people to just succeed in their work. And we come to the point where some companies who'd done this before saw a massive performance increase during the pandemic because everybody went home and they already knew how to use these tools. Some companies went home and started buying screens and mouses and laptops. They weren't prepared at all. So it was really a big difference. And some of the companies that I worked with said that the teams who had been working remotely and had been continuing the improvement of that before pandemic, they saw their performance shoot up like 30% when everybody were home at the same time. So I'm wondering what's going to happen actually with these companies who are already this, when they go back to the office, what's going to happen if they see performance drop? I mean, as in delivery of items. Of course, quite a lot of people are quite tired because they've been working so hard during the pandemic. So it's good to go back to the office to actually meet people. What you just said as well, co-create, meet, have just coffees and lunches and be part of something and not just be there at home delivering work and sitting in Teams meetings. And to come to the last point, do you think the nature of the jobs and the different roles will determine how we strategize the future of work? Absolutely, yes. Some of the, even not just the job, but even some, if my job includes 40% something where I need to be interactive with customers, I of course need to understand the customer side. Do they prefer virtual work? If they don't, I have to be able to adjust to doing face-to-face, etc. But I think what we are coming to is that each team should start discussing, how do we want to work? What's the most efficient way to do this? And we can't have people in the team saying, no, I won't come to the office, I'm only working remotely. We need to discuss this in the team and need to agree in the teams and to make sure that we explicitly make the decision what tasks are being done and where. And there is a great research done by Leesman, Leesmen, Leesman. They are researching home working and office working, and they've got hundreds of thousands of replies to their research right now. And it seems like it's very, very divided. Some people prefer to go full-time back to the office. Some people prefer to be full-time back at home, but most of people are in between. But how do we cater for these different kind of preferences versus what the company really needs or what the team really needs? It doesn't make that you can make choice just because you prefer something. So I would recommend start having those discussions in the teams, start making explicit decisions, and try to accommodate according to preferences. But remember, you can't just go with the preferences. You also have to look at the performance of the team. So those are some of my 5 cents there.
Thank you so much, Riina, for your clear explanation. Silakan Bapak Ibu, kalau ada yang mau bertanya, bisa langsung tanya aja, taruh di chat. Dan nanti kemudian saya akan aturkan supaya semua orang bisa kebagian jadwal pertanyaannya, gitu ya. Nah, selanjutnya kita akan masuk kembali ke Pak Effendi Ibnu sekalian, gitu ya, sekalian. So this is basically the next question from Pak Effendi untuk Mbak Wiwik. Pertanyaannya ada di layar, Mbak Wiwik. Jadi basically ada 2 question, ada 2 pertanyaan. Yang pertama, dalam bisnis model tersebut, bagaimana Ibu keep or sustaining profitability? How do you stay competitive? How do you keep your margin? Which I read somewhere already thin. And second, dengan adanya work from anywhere, konsep atau hybrid, bagaimana caranya supaya proses inovasi dan kreativitas tidak tergerus, Bu? Kurang lebih seperti itu, Mbak Wiwik. Silakan, Mbak Wiwik.
Oke, terima kasih. So about the business model, ya, I think what we've been doing dan kita akan continue to do we need to make sure first of all that kita punya organization yang mensupport kita punya business, itu harus se-efektif mungkin ya. And then we are looking at continuous improvement toward leaner organization. Mungkin sebagai gambaran ya, sebagai company yang cukup baru, boleh dibilang 9 tahun, dalam perjalanannya perusahaan yang berkembangnya begitu pesat, kemarin kita nggak pikirkan gitu ya bahwa atau mungkin begini, karena company mencoba selalu berinovasi dan mereka coba come up with all different kind of products, impact-nya ke organisasi, especially the organization structure and capability, itu sangat besar. So in a sense that boleh dibilang agak sedikit amburadul gitu ya. Jadi yang kita lakukan dari tahun lalu kita coba menata itu. I've been reviewing of our capability. Apakah capability yang ada saat ini itu sudah bisa menjawab keperluan business strategy not only for today but it's also for tomorrow and for our near future need gitu. Makanya yang saya bisa share, sebelum pandemic we were an organization with around 13,000 employees ya. Tapi sampai hari ini kita sudah bisa beroperasi dan hopefully we will be profitable this year. Itu kita hanya punya sekitar 6.400 karyawan. Ya, so of course business memang ada drop, but tetap saya bisa bilang bahwa dengan kita punya organisasi yang lebih lean, kita dengan punya capabilities yang lebih bisa menjawab keperluan bisnis, itu akan sangat membantu. Otomatis kita akan bisa memanage kita punya OPEX maupun PEREX ya, Pak Effendi. And then dengan working from home anywhere concept or hybrid. So our innovation, collaboration semuanya kita lakukan melalui online system ya, dan seperti tadi yang saya share, sebenarnya banyak tool-tool yang dipunya oleh Microsoft itu sangat membantu gitu. So far kita nggak melihat adanya kesulitan. Di Agile karena kita punya produk stream semuanya juga sudah memakai Agile approach, sehingga collaboration itu selalu dilakukan cross function ya. Itu yang kita make sure itu bisa terjadi terus kayak gitu. So we do not see any burden with working from home going to affect our continuity of being innovative ya. Satu hal yang mungkin harus kita selalu perhatikan adalah how can we make sure that the managers continue to engage their people gitu ya. Mungkin ini yang masih juga challenge karena setiap managers maybe kualitasnya juga berbeda-beda, dan apakah mereka bisa mengidentify seandainya ada membernya yang misalkan burnout atau punya masalah dengan kerjaannya. So it's still an ongoing learning basically. There are people, there are managers that are good at it and can solve that easily. There are some are not. Yeah, I think it's not nggak ada bedanya. Kalau kita kerja dari kantor juga ada manajer yang responsif dan bisa cepat dan they can engage their people. tapi ada juga yang kurang bisa melakukan hal itu. Mungkin apakah itu menjawab Pak Effendi?
Pak Effendi?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Effendi untuk pertanyaannya. Makasih banyak Mbak Wiwik untuk penjelasannya. Okay, baik. So while we are actually at the topic of culture, climate. Okay, so let's go next to Riina. This is a very interesting question next from Mr. Shorin. That what is the how does corporate culture affect the successful implementation of Agile, Riina? Is it we need to be Agile first and then it affects corporate culture, or do we need to have the proper right set of grounds, the proper climate to be Agile? What do you think about this?
It's a very big question because it's depending on company, depending on culture. I would say yes, the company culture has a lot to do with your success in starting to implement and adopt Agile ways of working, and especially because agility is so much about the mindset. I'm not sure if you have heard a saying where somebody said, culture eats strategy for breakfast, if you have heard that. It means that we can do whatever strategies, but if we don't have a culture to develop that or to deliver that, the culture will win. What I tend to say is, if you listen to this, the structures and the system eats culture for breakfast. So I say that even if we would like to have what kind of culture, if we say our culture is this and this and this, if we install structures that either enable something or hinder something, we are steering the culture. I'll give you an example. When Pixar started growing, Pixar is the film studio that created Nemo and whatever these kind of very amazing animations are. Pixar started growing a lot. And they went down in innovation. They saw the teams were not that innovative anymore. They didn't have good ideas. So the leaders thought, what should we do? And if you want to do something very quickly, you change a structure. You know what they changed? They removed the toilets from the offices and put everything down close to the cafeteria. All the toilets, all the cafe, you could just get in from one place in the whole building. So they changed the structure. And everybody went there many times a day. That's where they started meeting people from across the other company, across the other teams, discussing what their kind of projects they have, getting ideas, agreeing on, let's have a coffee later on. That's when the innovation went up again. So this is just a really, really small example of a structure affecting behavior. And now if you think about Agile, Agile comes with a lot of tools, practices, a lot of ideas on how to work on team level. But if we have policies that hinder that, they can't be Agile. If we have a manager that doesn't want to let the team start understanding how to work by themselves, but is there micromanaging all the time, it is a kind of a structure, a managerial structure that hinders agility. So what I think is much more important than just talking about what kind of culture we want is that we have decision makers who understand where we want to take this company. And these decision makers need to update their structures. So the structures that are in the organization, I'm talking about budgeting, policies, team structures, organization design, what kind of managers you hire and promote. I'm talking about these structures. If we don't change them, but expect a company to start changing towards a new way of working, won't be happening. So I think structures are stronger than culture, and culture is stronger than strategy. That's what I think.
Thank you so much, Riina, for your answer. Now, pertanyaan berikutnya ini akan ke Mbak Wiwik, berhubungan sama apa yang tadi disampaikan oleh Riina. So Riina mentioned something that culture is very important, but you need to create structure around it. Anda harus kultur itu sangat penting, tapi Anda harus menciptakan struktur diantaranya yang mendukung penciptaan culture tersebut. Nah, now basically Wiwik mentioned something that Indonesian culture, national culture, is basically a very high contact culture. We basically love to see people, to say hi. Basically, we love to interact with people. Nah, gimana? So how do you basically manage that culture, Mbak Wiwik, di Home Credit? Because when you talk about creating culture, yes, culture is important in creating successful implementation of Agile. Tapi what is it more than gathering virtual? Tiara asked us that how could basically we could ensure people happy, like very high spirited in this loom bad condition, okay, of COVID, etc. Is it only virtual gathering? What's more element of culture rather than just virtual gathering?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, I like to comment on what Riina just mentioned, right? So I am very much with her that it is very important that you need to create structure so for the people to follow, right? Another good example, like in Singapore, why every Indonesian, when they go to Singapore, they started to be more disciplined and they don't want to throw garbage anywhere. Because the system in Singapore, the rule, if you just throw garbage anywhere, you will caught by police, yeah. And when they go back to Indonesia, they go back to the Indonesian rule when there is no such rule, right? So I think similarly, I understand that there is a Indonesian culture that sometimes also pretty much dominant, but in the company, I continue to talk with my management team, right? That because of Indonesia is very diverse, so it is more important of what kind of company culture we want to create, and we can support and we can help our employees to embrace that culture. Yeah. So in our cases, creating structure is very much that we do believe. Yeah. Because that will help the people. And then how we do it, for sure, you need to start with creating or developing some clarity for the people, and helping people to understand not only the what, but it's also why, and especially with the younger generation, you need to really help them to understand why, and then involving them to make all these decisions. So then, so the ownership will be stronger. Yeah. So going back to Tiara questions, ya. Jadi apalagi sih yang kita lakukan selain is just apakah virtual gathering, saya yakin di teman-teman juga banyak permintaan ya, kayak karyawan kita selalu kenapa kita nggak ada virtual Zumba, or you invite someone to talk about something, so if you want to do exercise, for example, there are so many free YouTube, right? So a question is why you need to rely on the company on creating like virtual Zumba, for example. Yeah. So in our case is to make sure that our employee engage. First of all, again, like we need to provide clarity from the top. Yeah. And that is cascade down to the next layers, and then the next layer they need to organize another virtual gathering to talk about those, and then and up to the supervisor level. So I always do believe that the role of managers in our company, and especially in Indonesia, is very important to make sure that the people can continue to feel engaged. Yeah. And we are not responsible for employee happiness. Everybody is responsible of their own happiness. But the managers can help the people to feel more happy when they engage them continuously. Yeah. So it's not only about gathering, but it's not only, hey, let's have coffee, virtual coffee every Friday, for example. But it's beyond that. It's more about clarity about work and direction and support, so that employee feel continuously to feel connected, and then the managers, again, as I mentioned earlier, they are able to identify if the employee having a certain situation lagi happy atau nggak happy, perlu bantuan misalkan kayak gitu. Ya, and saat ini kan sering banyak kasus employee burnout because of those yang high touch culture, that because there is a need for them to stay connected, to mingle, and so that's why we said from last July, hey guys, if you want to come to the office, you can come, but please follow the safety protocols. Yeah, so we never stop of anyone coming to the office, regardless that we implemented working from home fully last July. So Tiara, hopefully this help.
Thank you, Mbak. Nah, ini continuing very quickly on question from Intan. Basically, you also mentioned about building structure, building system. So how do you see in Home Credit that this hybrid working actually impact the HR system that you also need to manage, Mbak Wiwik? Because you need to manage performance, remuneration, development. It's not only about culture itself. Very quickly, Mbak, bagaimana Mbak melihat itu?
Yeah, it's to speed up the digitalization. Anything, yeah. Anything possible. If you have any low hanging fruit yang bisa digitalisasi, itu yang dilakukan duluan. If kalau berhubungan dengan sistem yang akan yang agak berat, ya plan for it, ya. Itu akan sangat membantu, regardless you talk about performance, remuneration, development. Kita nggak merubah sama sekali performance system maupun remuneration, kita nggak kurangin gaji atau bonus orang karena work from home atau hybrid. On development piece is more, we are getting more and more again digital.
Baik, okay. So thank you so much, Mbak Wiwik, untuk konfirmasinya. Nggak ada pengurangan gaji, basically the same. It's just the way you work and then focus on the low hanging fruit. Now, this is a very interesting pair of question, Riina, and of course, Wiwik, you can also chip in. But basically, Irfan asked about how to bridge generation gap. Because you start your presentation, Riina, by starting Stefan from Serbia. So how to bridge generation gap in applying agile working? Some say that Generation X love to work from office, but not Generation Y. What do you think about this? And then Dinka also asked how to make sure that the recent graduate, our next level of talent, okay, will work later, can adapt better in everything, either in long term or short term, due to the complexity of the work. So basically, two questions, related questions regarding the younger generation coming into the workforce. Riina.
Very good questions. Thank you. First of all, I think that what is very important is to distinguish two things from each other. Remote working or hybrid working is not the same as agile ways of working. So let's distinguish that from each other. Agile means that we are working in increments, in self-organizing teams. We're working with feedback instead of building the full thing. That's agile. And I've seen every generation learn agile, start working with agile, and be very happy with agile. So that's a way of managing work, managing transparency, and getting things done. It's a different way than the kind of traditional waterfall way. Now, if we then talk about remote and hybrid work, either working in a location or physically somewhere, I think that the question is, should we even try to harmonize that? Should we appreciate that people have preferences? And again, go back to having conversations in the team. What makes sense to do remotely and what makes sense to do together in the office? Now, it seems like, if I just go back to, I'm just checking on, it's short-term thinking if we believe that the generational gaps. I did remember from the Leesman studies with hundreds of thousands of people that it wasn't so connected to age, actually, if you liked working from home or not. What was the biggest factor if you preferred home working to office working is that you had a physical ability to have a room, close the door, and work in a focused manner at home. If you had the surrounding where there were 5 kids around, your spouse working in one corner, you working in another corner, you hated working at home practically, then that's very logical. So remote working or working from home is quite often connected to how well your surrounding is organized for that type of work. Remembering that people want to do a good job. They don't want to show up at work and perform badly. Nobody wants that. They want to do a good job. So how can we help them with setting agreements in the teams, with really explicitly making decisions? When we are at home, how can we help the teams and the people have the tools they need, have the technology that they need to really deliver well? Maybe even, can we move further than that? Can we say that, hey, as an employee, you can rent an office space close to you, at least for maybe 5 days a month, if you really need the space to close the door and you don't have that at home? Can we move that way instead of paying for the big offices in the center? Can we have, I'm working in this kind of a co-office, where people have their own rooms and have open spaces where we can be in. There are tons of these around now. Can offices start inviting people to, hey, find a co-office where you can have a room for your meetings and then go home when you need to go home? So they kind of work remotely, but not at home. Can we start working with this kind of things? So I think that it's not a generational thing. I think it's a preference, and there are many different factors in affecting that preference. The other question was about university graduates. And this is just a gut feeling that I have from the young people that are working with us, and from what I'm hearing around in Europe specifically, is that young people are tired of the available alternatives. The world is open. They've got endless alternatives. It's too much to digest for them. So I think what we can help graduates with is give them clarity. This is what we're doing in this team. Here is our vision. Make it very clear. These are some of the rules that we have to work, but around these rules, you can agree in your team how to do it. They are very keen of getting crystal clear feedback. They love feedback. How can we be sure that we give them feedback often about their how they're doing? So graduates have always been a bit, they're never ready to jump into the current work life. But now specifically, they have all the alternatives open. They can do whatever they want to. So it's quite burdening, I think, for many. I think what we can do is to help them get clarity and feedback, and they will be able to navigate with that quite well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Riina. So basically, we are at the end of our session, but I would like to give the last 1 or 2 minutes very, very quickly, if all of you are okay with that, to Mbak Wiwik. So basically, the last 2 questions, Mbak Wiwik, is about the different nature of job, because not everyone can work remotely. How do you balance that, Mbak? Dan kayak apa sih manage-nya di Home Credit, Mbak?
Ya, kita memang dari awal itu sudah bedakan mana kerjaan-kerjaan yang harus dilakukan from office, ya, especially yang customer facing directly gitu, itu nggak bisa work from home gitu ya. Itu dari awal kita tentukan hal itu, dan karena kemarin COVID, walaupun kita ini essential industry, kita pengen make sure bahwa karyawan tetap aman, ya, hanya waktu mereka aman untuk bekerja di luar dan misalkan untuk ketemu customer itu mereka lakukan. Tapi untuk pekerjaan misalkan kayak customer service, ya, yang pakai telepon sekarang pun bisa dilakukan from home juga. Jadi kita sudah mulai banyak balance supaya mereka juga bisa menikmati kesempatan, boleh dibilang kesempatan untuk work from home, ya. So itu. Tapi kita define dari awal saat melakukan saat membuat aturan hybrid working system.
Oke, baik Bapak Ibu sekalian, karena kita sudah selesai pas 1,5 jam, karena setelah ini Riina dan Mbak Wiwik juga mungkin ada banyak acara dan teman-teman juga sudah malam. Saya hendak menyimpulkan bahwa untuk menjadi agile HR company di mana kita bisa lebih agile, itu jangan berpikir dari kacamata harus teknologi, harus seperti apa dan seperti apa, tetapi mulai dari prinsip dasar agile itu sendiri. Start small, but incremented step by step. Ensure bahwa ada continuous improvement. Involve karyawan di dalam proses penciptaan value tersebut, dan kemudian telurkan sesuatu dan pastikan itu selalu relevan ke depannya. Jadi itu saja kata penutup dari saya, Mbak Sandra. Dengan demikian saya serahkan kembali kepada Ibu kita, Mrs. Sandra Kosasih. So the floor is yours again. Thank you so much, Mbak Sandra.
Thank you so much. Terima kasih semuanya atas perhatiannya, dan khususnya kepada thank you Riina for sharing. You've been very helpful for spending the time with trending topics of these days. So hopefully our communities can continue to cross sharing again in the future. And then Wiwi, thank you for sharing tonight. It's so good to see you again. And I believe everyone also benefit from understanding a better perspective of a real implementation in your company, Home Credit. And Alvin, especially you, thank you for putting this all together. Thank you for the initiative. I think you have been a great ambassador for Agile and cross-community sharing. Untuk teman-teman semuanya, kalau bisa kita sebelum tutup, kita mau foto bersama, jadi video-videonya tolong dibuka.
So Riina, we're going to have a quick group photo. So kindly, we are going to have it on now, the video. Mbak Sandra, siapa yang mau foto?
Saya akan foto.
Oke, siap. Saya senyum aja kalau gitu.
Pengalaman ya. Oke, pokoknya semuanya siap dengan senyum termanisnya. Please everybody give your best smile. Okay, everyone. I'm going to the next page. Ada nggak ya next page-nya? Oke, I think udah one page saja. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for coming to this event. Hopefully we can do very soon for any other topics. So in the future, kalau ada lagi, stay tuned in OneHR. Thank you all and have a good rest. For Riina and Wiwi, thank you so much again. And Alvin, thank you again. Bye all.
Bye.
Thank
you. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Stay safe.
Bye.
Sehat selalu semua. Thank you Riina. Thank you Bu Wiwi.
Bye semuanya.
Thank you, Ernie.
Thank you Alvin.
Thank you,
Thank you
Beta.
semuanya, Ibu Mardalina. Hai Irma, apa kabar ini? Udah lama
Halo,
banget
Johan.
nggak ketemu.
Halo.
Pak Hernidian,
Medi.
Medi. Oh, everyone is here.
Hai Mama San, thank you.
Hai.
Thank you.
Sampai ketemu hari Minggu loh. Oke, saya
See you.
tutup ya. Terima kasih
Bye.
semua.
Record